baseball. Vampire baseball. Vampire baseball.
What's the Muse song for that?
Supermassive black hole.
Supermassive black hole. Hello, and welcome back to My Thing, Your Thing. My name is Hannah.
I'm Donovan.
And we're talking about My Thing, which for this set of episodes is Twilight.
Yeah.
If you're just listening to this episode, hey, go back and listen to the last one. This is part 2.
This is part 2.
Part 2 of the first Twilight book. It's just now dawning on me that we might be doing like 8 episodes in total of Twilight if I have to split each book into 2.
I really hope we can knock out New Moon in one.
Yeah, New Moon's so stupid and boring that like I hope I can get it done in one episode.
Yeah.
You can skip a lot of they say a lot of ridiculous nonsense, but also you can skip a lot of stuff because it's just Bella talking about how sad she is and the jagged edges of her hole. Anyway.
Oh, ew. Ew. Ew.
Do you want me to explain that, or do you want that to be a terrible thing that lives in your brain for a while?
Let's wait until we actually talk about it.
Fair enough.
Gross.
So again, just go back and I'm not summarizing everything that happened up to this point. Just go back and listen to the last episode.
Yeah, we picked up after Edward was driving really fast in the car.
He's admitted to being a vampire. He's driving stupid fast, and Bella.
No, he didn't admit to being a vampire.
He finally admitted to being a vampire in the car.
Oh, in the car.
He just didn't say he was a vampire at the Italian restaurant.
You know what?
When he was forcing mushroom ravioli on her.
If I were at an Italian restaurant and were a vampire, I would also not say it because they bring out the garlic.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So. This time on Twilight, I suppose.
Last time on Dragon Ball Z.
So Edward and Bella talk about how they're in love and the tension that comes from that because he wants to kill her. He's a vampire.
Yes, of course.
And then there's just a lot of words for a while.
It is a book.
So here we go. Are you crying? He sounded appalled. I hadn't realized the moisture in my eyes had brimmed over. I quickly rubbed my hand against my cheek, and sure enough, traitor tears were there, betraying me.
Already with the commas.
Like
literally, she could have just said, and I looked, and yes, my tears were there betraying me. You don't have to have 3 commas. Like you could have 1 comma.
So this is like they've been together they've been like officially dating for like a day, and they're just talking a whole lot, right?
Sure, yeah. Again, this is a 100-year-old man dating a 16-year-old. Anyway, please continue.
Do my questions bother you? I asked, relieved. Not as much as your reactions do. He looked like he was joking, but I couldn't be sure. I frowned. Do I react badly? No, that's the problem. You take everything so coolly. It's unnatural. It makes me wonder what you're really thinking. I always tell you what I'm really thinking. You edit, he accused. Not very much. Enough to drive me insane.
Yeah.
I initially tagged this as good writing. Because Edward getting frustrated that he doesn't know what Bella is thinking because Edward can read minds and he can't read Bella's mind. Like I liked that initially. But now I'm feeling less generous and I'm just mad at this conversation.
Yeah, that's a really dick move to be like, hey, you're like politely filtering your thoughts to people. I hate that.
Yeah.
No. Like,
well, also because like I am interpreting that Edward like is upset that he can't read her mind, and he's mad about that. It's not on the page.
Yeah.
And so like if Stephanie Meyer had like put something in about how he was mad that he didn't know what she was thinking because he knows that people edit, then like I would probably feel a little bit more generous to this. But it's just another conversation in series of long conversations where Edward and Bella complain about things about each other and then also talk about how much they're in love.
Barf.
Barf indeed. Here's one of my favorites. So Bella is talking to Jessica now. And Bella says, I do have some trouble with incoherency when I'm around him, I admitted. Oh, well, he is unbelievably gorgeous. Jessica shrugged as if this excused any flaws, which in her book, it probably did. Bitch, in this book, it does.
Yeah, you are that.
Bella is constantly talking about how, like, he's so beautiful, it doesn't matter what he does.
Edward
and, like,
sucks.
she forgives any amount of, like, boundary crossing or, like, him being mad at her for no reason or, like, doing shit that she doesn't want him to do because then she just looks at his beautiful, perfect angel face and everything's all better. Bella's a hypocrite, is what I mean.
Yeah, no.
And so is Stephanie Meyer.
Yes.
It continued like that for the rest of the day. While he walked me to English, when he met me after Spanish, all through the lunch hour, he questioned me relentlessly about every insignificant detail of my existence. Movies I'd liked and hated, the few places I'd been to, and the many places I wanted to go, and books. Endlessly books. Edward gets to know all of this information about Bella.
We do not.
We, the audience, do not, because Stephanie
Yes.
Meyer either was too lazy to or too uncreative to write this sort of information about her character.
Or, if we want to be generous, she is creating a blank slate that whoever is reading the book can put themselves into.
Yeah.
You can be like, oh, the movies that I like and the books that I like, Edward's asking me those questions. It's no.
And he thinks that I'm so cool and interesting because of the things that I like and dislike.
Yeah, because if there's no answer, there's no wrong answer. But if there is an answer, then, if Bella said, oh, I love Wuthering Heights, and you reading this book hated Wuthering Heights, and Edward's like, I love that book. Now it's like, well, Edward won't love me because I hated that book,
Each of these books does have like a classic literary book that gets referenced a lot, and Wuthering Heights is one of them. I don't remember if it's this one or one of the later ones. The next one is Romeo and Juliet.
Edward and Heathcliff could have a conversation.
I've not read Wuthering Heights, so
Heathcliff sucks in many of the same ways that Edward sucks. But Heathcliff is just a human being who sucks, and he's like 25 or whatever, And
he's got all of the problems of, 1800s England going on?
Whatever. Yeah, it's Edward, Regency period or whatever the fuck,
Edward doesn't have those excuses.
No.
It's 2003. Calm down.
Yeah.
Here's the thing that made me so angry when I first read it. Jacob was already climbing out, his wide grin visible even through the darkness. In the passenger seat was a much older man, a heavy-set man with a memorable face, a face that overflowed, the cheeks resting against his shoulders, with creases running through the rusted skin like an old leather jacket, period. What the fuck does the cheeks resting against his shoulders mean? How wide is this man's face?
Yeah, maybe like one cheek is on the shoulder, he's just like sitting one direction, but both?
Both?
That's amazing.
Yeah. I'm so confused by what this description means.
Yeah, I think we're trying to say that he's heavyset and that he's got a face with like wrinkles and stuff, but I don't know. It's sort of it almost seems like it's supposed to be like humorous, but it's not. It's absolutely not.
Yeah.
It's not spoken in a way that would like make a joke. That is something that someone in a more comedic book might be like, yes, he's heavy set, his jowls touch his shoulders on both sides. Like, what?
Yeah. Do you want something that is actually funny?
Yeah, of course.
So Bella's going to go hang out with Edward tomorrow, and she's too excited. I knew I was far too stressed to sleep, so I did something I'd never done before. I deliberately took cold medicine.
Oh, no.
The kind that knocked me out for a solid 8 hours.
Whoa. She did drugs.
She did drugs to go to sleep.
That is absolutely Smyer's Mormon upbringing coming through there.
Yeah.
Where she's just like, what's a crazy thing that a 16-year-old could do? I know. Take cold medicine.
It's also kind of like, girl, you don't have chamomile tea? Like, why don't you just... Like, there were any amount of other things. And, like, if taking cold medicine was going to be such a huge... I mean, I take melatonin every night to go to sleep.
I was about to say, not everybody takes 2 melatonin gummies and just goes night-night immediately.
I was going to say it's my superpower, but it's not. It's the drugs. I guess you couldn't get melatonin gummies in 2005, and certainly not in Forks, Washington.
I bet you if you went to the pharmacy, you could get it.
Yeah, probably. Not gummies, though. They would have, like, horrible little tablets you would have to swallow.
I got melatonin gummies in, like, 2011, like... Because I also had trouble sleeping.
I'm saying that, like, the small town of Forks, Washington, like the tiny pharmacy that they have.
There's got to be.
They would have pills, not gummies, and then Bella would choke to death trying to swallow one because that's how clumsy she is.
There's got to be an Albertsons within driving distance.
Probably.
Come on. Brought to you by Albertsons.
I dressed in a rush, smoothing my collar against my neck, fidgeting with the tan sweater till it hung over my jeans. And then immediately later, we matched, he laughed again. I realized he had a long, light tan sweater on with a white collar showing underneath and blue jeans. I laughed with him, hiding a secret twinge of regret. Why did he have to look like a runway model when I couldn't? Bella and Edward are wearing tan sweaters with white shirts underneath them and jeans, and this is absolutely the sort of fashion that like a middle-aged Mormon woman would think.
Yeah,
right?
This is what teenagers wear to look cool.
These two dress like stock models from picture frames.
Yeah, they absolutely do.
So this is they're going on like a hiking trip because Edward wants to show her something. This is when he shows her his favorite meadow because he has a favorite meadow.
Look, I have a favorite meadow.
Fair. Charlie said it would be warm today. And did you tell Charlie what you were up to? He asked. Nope. But Jessica thinks we're going to Seattle together, right? He seemed cheered by the idea. No, I told her you canceled on me, which is true. So no one knows you're with me, angrily no. That depends. I assume you told Alice. That's very helpful, Bella, he snapped. I pretended I didn't hear that. So Edward is upset because Bella didn't tell anybody that she was going to be with him, and he is worried that he's going to lose control and eat her. However, Stephanie Meyer sucks at writing tension. There's never a doubt in my mind that they're just going to go for a hike. Like, even, this is the perfect opportunity for him to kill her, and her, like, she just disappeared into the woods, like many people do in the Pacific Northwest. But I don't for 1 second believe that Edward's going to try and eat her.
Also, like, is Edward saying that if I kill and eat you, like, your dad should kill me? Like, what is he saying? He's like,
no, he's saying that he wanted Charlie to know that Bella was with him because that gave him the incentive to make sure that she gets home safe.
Oh,
because Charlie would know that the last person she was with was Edward.
That's so stupid.
Yeah. Yeah.
That is so, like, wow. I'm sorry. This book sucks, and I gave it too much credit.
Yeah, so every time, like, this is a thing where, like, Edward is very worried that he's going to kill her. And, like, Stephanie Meyer is so bad at writing tension that, like, every time it seems like he has the opportunity to, like, snarf her, he just runs away instead, and he's, like, halfway across the room or the clearing or outside the door or whatever. Mm-hmm. And so there's never any doubt in my mind that Bella is any sort of in any sort of legitimate danger from Edward.
Yeah, exactly. Like, it would not have gone amiss would be a scene where, like, he actually does hurt her in some way, like, not necessarily on purpose, but maybe by accident, or maybe like because he's like a impulse or something like that. You know, something that maybe you could go like, oh, maybe he would, but that never happens.
Hurting someone by accident, that's going to be a theme in the next book.
Oh, God.
Sorry, I didn't initially tag this for this episode, but Edward says to Bella, but you were too interesting, and then I just wrote in the margin, Smire does love a good tell-don't show. Yeah.
So interesting. All those movies and books that you like. I love those.
Tell me more about... Well, fuck, what's the Futurama quote? The Lucy Liu one?
Oh, yeah. You should write a book about can eat more.
Can eat more.
Speaking of which, Lucy Liu, Presents.
Oh, yeah.
It was pretty good last night.
It was really good last night, yeah.
We watch other things, not just James Bond, and we don't just read Twilight. We watch movies. We talked last time about Mickey 17. We just saw Presents last night. We're cultured people.
I enjoy things. I loved Presents. It was really good. Yeah. And if you went into it and you didn't like it because it wasn't like a traditional horror movie, don't think it like a horror movie. It's a sad family drama, but a ghost is there. Okay, anyway, Twilight.
Yeah, this is also a sad relationship drama, but a vampire.
Vampire. Well, I mean, it is like a romance because like the plot of romance is the tension between the lover and the beloved. And
sure.
And the tension there is that he's a vampire, he wants to eat her. But it's not
there's no actual tension.
It's not all written. Anyway, this is another thing that I tagged as like good writing, and I stand by that. I think that this is like, this approach is good writing.
Okay.
Thank you, he smiled. You see, he continued, looking down now. I wasn't sure if I was strong enough. He picked up one of my hands and pressed it lightly to his face. And while there was still that possibility that I might be overcome, he breathed in the scent at my wrist. I was susceptible until I made up my mind that I was strong enough, that there was no possibility at all that I ever could. I'd never seen him struggle so hard for words. It was so human. This is the closest Stephanie Meyer gets to making it sound like Edward comes from a different time. The holding someone's hand and like pressing their wrist to your face, like that is the sort of thing that I could see in an old silent movie.
Yeah, totally, you know.
You have heard me, listener, read some of the things that Edward had said. This is the closest it gets to like turn of the century. Like, yeah, that makes sense that he was born there. Everything else sounds like he's just a teenager from 2005.
Yeah. Or at least a 30-year-old's conception of a teenager from 2005.
But again, like what he's saying of like, if there was the possibility that I could hurt you, but now that possibility is gone. Yeah, because Stephanie Meyer can't read attention.
Right.
Oh, yeah. So there's no possibility now? Mind over matter, he repeated, smiling, his teeth bright even in the darkness. Wow, that was easy. It was never hard. It was never difficult. There was no tension.
I mean, he did have to go to Alaska once.
That's fine. He did have to go to Alaska once, yeah. Like, it's very much like he saw her one time, smelled how good she was, and then was immediately like, I can't be here. And then when he came back, he was like, no, I think I'm strong enough. I can do this. Mm-hmm. It's like a tiny moment. He hummed a melody I didn't recognize. It sounded like a lullaby. He paused. Should I sing you to sleep? Right, I laughed. Like I could sleep with you here. You do it all the time, he reminded me.
God.
But I didn't know you were here, I replied icily. So if you don't want to sleep, he suggested, ignoring my tone. My breath caught. Edward has been sneaking into her room and watching her sleep from, like, basically the second he got back from Alaska.
Yeah.
Ew, 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 ew,
yeah,
ew,
double, triple ew.
Ew. Edward is 104 years old.
Yeah.
Ew.
I mean, this doesn't even matter if it's about his age. You could be 17. This is fucking ew.
It's fucking ew. There's also a bit later where, like, he's playing her the song that he was singing, like he's playing the lullaby on the piano, and like it's so beautiful it moves her to tears, and he like catches one of her tears and then puts it in his mouth. Ew. 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 I don't have anything aside from ew. Don't do that. Ew.
Why?
I don't know.
Why?
Ew.
Yeah, you.
And then also on the subject of
I can't believe I agreed to have you tell me about this book.
Also on the subject of Edward and ew, later he calls Jacob a child, which is really gross because Jacob is only 2 years younger than Bella and Edward is 104 years old. Ew.
Yeah, I'm 90 years older than him, and I'm only 88 years older than you.
Yeah, gross.
That's fine. I see him as a child, but I see you as not one.
So, like...
You're mature for your age.
Ugh. Yeah, so, like, they've done the Meadow thing. I'm so sorry. Titsoak is not actually in the books.
I know. I wish Titsoak was in the book.
This is the skin of a killer, Bella. Was something that came up for the movie, not the books.
Yeah, honestly, the lines in the movie are better, just like Jump on My Back, Spider Monkey.
Although the whole, so the lion fell in love with the lamb. What a stupid lion. What a sick masochistic lamb. No, other way around. Whatever. It doesn't matter.
I like that better.
Yeah. Anyway, that is in the book. So like Titsoak's not in the book. Spider Monkey is not in the book. Sick masochistic lion is in the book.
I'm depressed now.
So anyway, this is like the next day. Like they've spent the whole day together. He stayed in her room while she slept. He stayed awake because vampires don't sleep. Stephanie Meyer vampires don't sleep.
Sure.
They're awake for forever. Could you imagine how crazy you would
that'd
go?
be awful. That would be, I definitely don't like to think about being asleep for 8 hours. Like I would love it if I could sleep for 4 hours or like 2 hours or something like that. But not sleeping at all, I would go crazy.
Yeah, cuckoo banana pants.
Yeah.
So this is like the next day. Breakfast time, he said, eventually casually, to prove I'm sure that he remembered all of my human frailties. So I clutched my throat with both hands and stared at him, eyes wide. Shock crossed his face. Kidding, I snickered, and you said I couldn't act. He frowned in disgust. That wasn't funny. It was very funny, and you know it, but I examined his gold eyes carefully to make sure I was forgiven. Apparently I was. First of all, fuck you, Edward, that was funny. And second of all, Bella is already learning that she has to manage his emotions for him, because...
Oh, God.
Yeah.
The 16-year-old girl needs to manage the 104-year-old man's emotions.
Hey, that's concerning.
Yeah, that sucks. Hey, listener, that sucks.
That sucks. And if you're in a relationship with someone and you're like, oh, I have to like be careful around them so that I don't make them angry, don't be near them anymore.
Is the point of this book to like, maybe not the point, but like, is the fantasy of this book, if you are a reader and you are seeing yourself as Bella, is the fantasy of this book to like think that this is a gorgeous, dangerous, shitty man that he just loves you because no reason at all? Like, I don't understand I understand the generic, like, you can just sort of, like, imprint yourself on Bella because she's basically, like, not a character in lots of ways. Like, I get that he's a vampire and he's gorgeous, but what's interesting about Edward? Like, what makes Edward this fantasy that you want to, like, live with? I don't get it.
So it's kind of the fantasy that a lot of other like romantasy books are about right now. So like I read the first ACOTAR book. I didn't particularly like it, and I've listened to a lot of people talk about Fourth Wing, and I know that there is a solid trope right now of like the protagonist being in some way a person that needs to be taken care of. So like in Fourth Wing, the main character has Ehlers-Danlos syndrome. And in ACOTAR, the main character, like she can't read and she's just a human, and like while she can hunt and stuff, she's like not super like well versed in a lot of like social stuff. And so like the a little bit of the fantasy is that I am going to be taken care of by someone who is so much bigger and stronger than me, and someone who potentially, like, who has the part of the fantasy is that there is the potential that this person could hurt someone, and that someone could be me, but they love me so much they're never going to hurt me.
But Edward's not taking care of Bella. Edward, like as you're saying, Bella is taking care of Edward. Bella is like.
Well, he's taking care of her in the sense that, like, he is protecting her, like protecting her from herself, protecting her from loneliness. He is protecting her from other dangerous things that she's going to encounter.
Yeah, because she knows him.
This is why he leaves in the second book. But also, Bella goes cuckoo banana pants in the second book, and like she needs him around because otherwise she's going to throw herself off of the cliff. So, like, the fantasy is that, like, there is this big, strong guy who has the potential to do violence, but he's never going to hurt me because he loves me so much. And I understand the fantasy of that.
I guess.
I understand why people like that in fantasy settings. However, if you are with someone in the real world who displays these kinds of tendencies, you shouldn't be with them because they're
a dangerous person.
Yes.
Like they're gonna hurt
in the real
you.
world. You like in the fantasies there's the guarantee that the main character and the love interest are going to end up together, right?
Yeah.
In the real world, it doesn't work like that. Sometimes the person that you're with who is big and strong and has the capacity for violence will direct violence at you.
Yeah.
And like I'll say, so I read a lot of like manhwa and like that kind of like webtoon kind of stuff, and
Yeah.
I like the isekai kind of stuff where like someone gets sucked into a fantasy world and they have to marry the Northern Duke, and he's so big and strong because he like fights monsters all of the time. But like in a lot of like all of those, like he doesn't display the same kind of worrying tendencies as like Edward does or Christian Grey does or anything like that. He like whatever violence he has is never ever directed at like the main female character.
Yeah, because it's always directed outwards. It's the, like soft for me and hard for the rest of the world kind of thing. I get it. But
the grumpy one is soft for the sunshine one.
Yeah,
it is one of my favorite tropes. I'll be real.
It's a solid enough trope, but like that's not what's happening here.
No, that's not what's happening here.
And I don't like it.
Yeah,
I just don't like it. The only romantasy I like are Chuck Tingle novels.
Have you actually read a Chuck Tingle novel?
I have read one Chuck Tingle novel.
We should read Chuck Tingle novels for the podcast. I'd be happy to do that.
You know me, my thing is cryptids, so I definitely read one of the Bigfoot ones.
Hell yeah.
Yeah.
Chuck Tingle is very active on Tumblr. He's a really fun follow.
Yeah.
On a similar topic of what we were just talking about.
Yeah.
Don't be mad. I couldn't help myself. You should have seen your face. He chuckled before he could stop himself. Oh, you're the only one who's allowed to get mad? I asked, raising my eyebrows. I wasn't mad at you. Bella, you'll be the death of me, I quoted sourly. That was simply a statement of fact. I tried to turn away from him again, but he held me fast. You were mad, I insisted. Yes, but you just said that I wasn't mad at you. Can't you see that, Bella? He was suddenly intense, all trace of teasing gone. Don't you understand? See what? I demanded, confused by his sudden mood swing as much as his words. I'm never angry with you. How could I be? Brave, trusting, warm as you are. That is so. Gaslighting is one of those words that we're taking away from people and putting on them shelf until they understand what it means.
Yeah.
That's gaslighting.
That is it there.
Right there. That is, we should actually, for the podcast, we should watch the movie The Gaslights. I would love to do that. It's a really good movie. Have you ever seen it?
I have not. No, it would be your thing.
Yeah, it'd be great. It's a good movie. Oh, it's so good. But like this is lying to someone is not gaslighting.
No.
Lying to someone about a very specific thing and saying you're wrong about this very specific thing in order to manipulate them, that's gaslighting.
Yeah.
And this is what that's just was. Also, so at this point, Edward and Bella are together. He takes her to his favorite meadow, and she learns the horrible reason he can't go out in the sun. He sparkles. Titsoak is unfortunately not in the book. Aww. There's a good bit where Edward berates Bella for lying to her dad about where she was because it means he could kill her without suspicion.
It would be hella suspicious because, they're dating. Some people know about this.
Yeah. Even if she didn't, no one saw her walk away with Edward. If a
it's always the boyfriend.
Yeah, if a teenage girl goes missing, probably the first person that cops are going to ask is her boyfriend.
Yeah, absolutely.
So then Edward takes her to meet the rest of his family. Roll call.
Yay!
So Carlisle, Dr. Dad, who has the superpower of compassion, I think, maybe. Esme, his wife. That's it.
Sorry. I thought you were going to declare some kind of personality trait, maybe.
Nope. Alice, the most perfect character with the power to see the future.
Alice rules.
Her partner, Jasper, who's the newest to the vegetarian vampire lifestyle and is having a time with it. He also has the power to influence moods and emotions. So, he'll just make you feel different. Rosalie,
sometimes I do feel different.
Yeah, that's fair. And then Rosalie, who hates Bella because Edward was supposed to be for Rosalie, or Rosalie was supposed to be for Edward. But also she's got Emmett now. She's just kind of a bitch. Rosalie is really shitty to Bella.
I'm sorry, listeners, you cannot see the look on my face right now of
he is
what
confuddled.
The fuck. Yeah.
So Edward was the first person that Carlisle turned, and then he was okay, Carlisle was I'm so lonely, I wish I had someone that I could move through this eternal night with. And so then he turned Edward, and then a little while later he found and turned Esme, and then he and Esme were in love, and he was well, now it's great because I've got a family, but my son needs someone. And so then he found Rosalie and turned her, and Rosalie was supposed to be for Edward, but they didn't click.
Fair.
So Rosalie has a lot of weird, complicated feelings because she was rejected by Edward. And so, she's just kind of a bitch to Bella because of that.
I mean, okay. Can I be real about this? And this would be such an interesting thing to write if Smire was a good writer. Maybe she does. Maybe I'm not giving her enough credit here. You can't love someone who you can read their mind. You can't.
Yeah.
It's not possible.
Yeah.
If you knew every single horrible thought that the human brain has every single day, and you could just hear it all the time, you could not look at that person.
Yeah.
You could not, you could maybe, be friends with them and, but you could not, open yourself up and be trusting and be, vulnerable with that person. Because no matter what, the nicest person in the world is going to think impure, horrible thoughts about you in some way, and you just have to be able to deal with that. It would be really interesting if the book was that's why he loves Bella. He loves Bella because he's the only person who he can actually be vulnerable with because he doesn't know what she's thinking.
Yeah, except that Smire can't make Edward vulnerable in any way because he has to be strong, and you can't be strong and vulnerable at the same time. No one's ever managed to achieve that.
No. Never.
Ever.
Not once.
I think also there's a really shitty thing where Stephenie Meyer is not good at writing female friendships, except for Alice, who's perfect at everything.
Yeah, Alice is great.
Every other girl that Bella interacts with, aside from Alice, she's horribly bitchy to. Even Angela, who was an innocent in all of this.
Yeah.
She's only ever nice and kind to her.
She doesn't have nice things to say about her own mom.
She doesn't have nice things to say about her own mom. Yeah. Angela's only ever nice to Bella, and Bella doesn't even think about her ever.
Yeah.
And she only thinks mean things about Jessica and Lauren. So Stephenie Meyer has some internalized misogyny to work through. At least she did in 2005. I don't know if she's done any self-work since then.
Yeah, what's she up to these days?
No fucking clue. Perhaps at some point in the future I will talk about other books that Stephenie Meyer has. She wrote The Host, and then I know that there was something about a spy. and I don't know what that one is.
What's the host about?
The host is about aliens come to Earth and they take over humans because they like possess them.
Yeah.
And they make Earth into like a utopia, but you like it's like the Yeerks kind of from Animorphs.
Okay.
Because they control the humans. And like there's.
By the way, Hannah.
Yeah.
We might have to do Animorphs.
Oh, I'd be happy to do Animorphs.
Yeah, I never read any Animorphs.
I read a bunch of Animorphs, but I didn't read the ending. But my friend who did read the ending told me all about it.
Okay.
And it is very much like a very sad ending for the child soldiers of the Intergalactic War.
That is, yeah.
Yeah.
So it's like
people give what's her face, the woman who wrote like Mockingjay, a lot of praise for being like, yeah, it sucks after war. Like PTSD is bad.
Yeah.
But K.A. Applegate, I'm not like K.A. Applegate did it first. I don't know if she
Yeah.
did it better because I haven't read the end of it, but like she did it first.
Yeah, sure.
Anyway, on back to this book.
It's such a sunny day, such a sunny day, such a sunny day to waste away.
Oh, so Bella has gone to hang out with the Cullens, and
Yeah.
it's going to thunderstorm later. So not just rain, it's going to thunderstorm later. And so everyone is all excited because this means that they get to go play baseball.
Vampire baseball.
Vampire baseball. Vampire baseball. And they have to play. They can only play baseball when it's raining and when it's thunderstorming because the sound of them smacking balls with bats and also crashing into each other sounds like thunder. So they need the cover of the thunderstorm.
Okay. Thought number one.
Yeah.
Baseball bats are made of wood. Like, are they using special reinforced baseball bats? Because they're just gonna break the baseball bats. Like,
I
they're
have
not.
to assume yes.
They're like human beings can break baseball bats. Like,
yeah.
The idea that these are like superhuman creatures, if you throw the ball hard enough and you swing the bat hard enough, you're gonna break them.
Yeah, I would assume that if you hit a baseball hard enough that it literally makes up like it's
Yeah.
loud when a regular bat hits a regular baseball held by a regular baseball player. But it's not like thunder loud. So I would have to assume that yes, they're playing with like steel core balls and also like titanium bats or something.
Yeah, like the physics doesn't physic here.
No.
Like, it just doesn't work.
So anyway, while they're playing baseball,
Yeah.
there are 3 other vampires who come out of the woods, and they are not vegetarian vampires. They are regular vampires who eat humans.
Oh no.
Here's a terrible sentence. Their sharp eyes carefully took in the more polished, urbane stance of Carlisle, who, flanked by Emmett and Jasper, stepped guardedly forward to meet them. 1, 2, 3, 4. 4 commas in one sentence is a crime.
Yeah.
To the Hague. Without any seeming communication between them, they each straightened into a more casual, erect bearing. Stop doing that. Please? For me? Stop doing that.
A more casual, erect bearing? I'm sorry. Erect means less casual.
Yeah.
That's not what that means.
Yeah. 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 It's not good. So Edward takes Bella to go watch his family play vampire baseball.
Vampire baseball.
The reason in text that they like baseball is because it's America's pastime.
Yeah, America's pastime. Not like, hey, we're from the turn of the century when baseball was a really big deal. We all grew up really big fans, and we just like to do it because it reminds of us our past. No, it's America's pastime.
It's America's pastime, that's why.
Which means nothing. That doesn't mean anything.
And so then we meet some bad vampires.
Very spooky
bad vampires. And they're bad vampires because they eat humans, not animals like the vegetarian Cullens.
Yes.
And oh no, one of them is a hunter, which means that he's going to fixate on Bella and he wants to kill her.
What does that mean?
I don't know. I think it's kind of like a little bit like the superpowers thing, where like he's just like he fixates on people and like he wants to hunt them down and kill them. But like they talk about it like it's a normal thing that vampires like normally talk about, or like a normal thing amongst vampires, that he's just a hunter, he hunts.
Wouldn't they all be hunters if they're trying to kill people? Like,
Exactly. Edward describes himself as like the most perfect predator at one point. So like, what's the difference between you and James? Which is the bad vampire's name.
what a dumb name for a bad vampire.
Yeah.
James.
James, and then his partner is Victoria, and then the other one traveling with them is Laurent,
Yeah.
who in the movie is black, in the books is white, because Stephanie Meyer doesn't add black people.
Yeah. No, he looks cool in the movie.
He does.
Yeah, he's got the hair and
Yeah,
stuff.
it's
Yeah.
pretty rad.
Pretty rad.
Sorry that he dies at one point.
Yeah.
Anyway, so like,
Spoiler.
yeah, spoiler about these stupid books from a decade ago. 2 decades ago. Goddamn.
2 decades ago. Hannah, we're old.
Hold on while I waste away into dust. Anyway,
Happy birthday, by the way.
thank you. So James smells Bella, and he also thinks that she smells delicious. She's not his personal brand of heroin, but she
Yeah.
smells real good. And he's like, I'm gonna take her away from Edward.
Hang on. Edward is from when heroin was just like a drug that you could
Yeah.
buy at the store.
Yeah.
You're my own personal brand of heroin doesn't mean like obviously you
What is
know,
it, Bayer?
Yeah,
Like-
Bayer, yeah. You're my own personal brand of heroin. I get you over the counter at my local druggist.
Yeah, there was also there was a thing for a while where like people appreciated heroin addicts more than drunkards, because if you were on heroin, you were just gonna lie down somewhere and be quiet.
Yeah, you're gonna be in your house and you weren't gonna like yell.
Yeah,
and
but if
be-
you were drunk, there's the possibility they'll be like out in the streets and belligerent and starting fights and then wasting all of your family's money, and then they voted for you to not have alcohol anymore. That's why we got that amendment. I'm not joking. That's literally one of the reasons.
more or less.
So like the joke that like Americans gave women the right to vote and then they took away alcohol, like it was literally a feminist issue at the time of
Yeah.
like your husband keeps spending all of your money on alcohol because he's drunk all the time and you have no control over that. So what if we just take away his ability to drink alcohol? That'll make your family better.
Yeah.
This has been your learning fact for the podcast.
And prohibition made drinking more like egalitarian. Like before prohibition, everyone who drank, like men were basically drank everything and women drank not at all. During prohibition, it became much more of like a social thing. Like you would go with your best gal to the speakeasy and you would have these cocktails and like you would both drink. That was a new thing.
That's also where a lot of cocktails come from, because they had to put a bunch of extra stuff in it so that it didn't taste like bathtub gin.
Yeah. Congratulations, everyone. You learned things, although you probably already knew this because you exist on the internet too.
Yeah. Any dang way. So the plan that they come up with is to squirrels Bella away to safety. She is going to break her father's heart by leaving in the exact same manner that her mother did 16 years before.
Yeah, totally necessary.
100% necessary. There's this bit where Charlie is like, Bella like runs into the room and she's like, I hate forks, I'm leaving. And he's like, what? And and she's like, I can't be here anymore. I'm going back home to Phoenix. And he's like, no one's in Phoenix. Your mom's not in Phoenix. In fact, Phil just got signed. They're going to move to Florida. If you wait a week, you can move to Florida and it'll be okay. And she's like, I hate forks so much. Charlie, can't you just let me go? And like, that's the exact same thing that her mom said like 16 years earlier. And so Charlie is just immediately crushed, and he does not stop his 16-year-old daughter from storming out of the house.
Man, fuck.
Fuck, indeed.
Charlie. Holy shit.
Charlie is not the best of dads, but I feel really bad for him.
Nobody's perfect. Like, and
yeah.
Bella is the worst of daughters. Like,
Yeah, Bella sucks real hard.
I left you cold cuts in the fridge. I can cook. Like, I'm an adult. What is your problem?
I've been taking care of myself for 15 years now. Thank you very much. And also, probably Charlie was the one who was doing some amount of cooking beforehand, because Bella like establishes that Renee is a terrible cook.
Yeah.
So
He can, as you said, he can like make like he can just like
he's got to be able to prepare fish. He's fishing all of the damn time.
yeah.
Anyway, so here's the thing. How can you kill a vampire? Bella asked. He glanced at me with unreadable eyes, and his voice was suddenly harsh. The only way to be sure is to tear him to shreds and then burn the pieces. And so now we have come to what I call the Twilight problem. So the thing about Stephanie Meyer vampires is that they are literally made out of marble.
Yeah.
They are super strong. They are super fast. They can smell you from very far away. And there's a possibility that they can see the future or read your minds or just
They
like
have some kind of superpower.
there's a possibility they've got some kind of super. There's a guy later who can manipulate elements. Like they've got an extra edge on you sometimes.
Wow. Okay.
So the only way to kill a Stephanie Meyer vampire is to rip them to shreds, a thing that humans cannot do because we are not strong enough and they are made out of marble.
Yeah.
So here's the Twilight problem. Why the fuck don't vampires rule the world?
Yeah, why aren't vampires just like completely in charge?
It'd be like if humans decided that we needed to hide our existence from cows. Like, there's no reason for that.
Yeah.
Why don't, like, because now humans have invented, like, miniguns that can fire a bajillion rounds a second that could feasibly, like shred a vampire and then you could burn him.
You could imagine that a human being could invent weapons that could destroy vampires, but certainly 1,000 years ago, that was not the case.
Not the case at all.
You know, you couldn't get the trebuchet going
to smash a vampire. Yeah. You can't tie up a vampire and then put him in the trebuchet and then launch him into a cliffside to explode him.
Yeah.
And like it does, the way that Stephanie Meyer describes vampires burning, it does seem that they're like more flammable than rock.
Okay.
But like
maybe, I was about to say maybe they're flammable. Maybe you can use the Greek fire.
But yeah, perhaps Greek fire. Yeah, that might have worked. Like that could be a reason. And I don't know, maybe like humans figuring out Greek fire or like Agent Orange or whatever, like some other amount of like napalm, sticky fire jelly. Like perhaps that put fear in vampires of like, no, we have to hide from humans. But Stephanie Meyer doesn't say that.
Also, like, when was the first vampire? Because like, if there was a vampire in Sumer, he could just run the damn place.
Right, exactly. Like, why aren't vampires in charge?
Yeah.
Why are the vampires hiding from humans? Why aren't the vampires breeding and eating human like we do cattle or rabbits or fish or any, like, why aren't the vampires in charge? It makes no sense. And it makes me furious every time I think about it.
Repeat to yourself, it's just a book. You should really just relax.
I'm sorry, MST3K can't save me.
You're totally right. It's one of those things that when you just leave it, it doesn't make any sense. But you also don't want to over-explain because then it makes the story come to a grinding halt. But you have to address it. You have to address it even a little bit. You know, you drive in the car and Bella's like, well, why aren't vampires in charge? And then, I don't know, Edward says like, well, it's really hard to make a vampire and there just aren't enough of us, you know?
Or something about like, if you get too many like vampires that don't eat animals in the same place, then they start competing with each other for food and there's all sorts of like power struggles and then they'll eventually betray each other. Like it could have been something like that. Like literally any amount of thing.
Yeah, some kind of explanation. Something basic and simple and like sounds good on the surface that you don't have to think about it too much.
Yeah, so that's something that the fandom could at least point out and say, well, that's why they don't do that.
Yeah.
So Bella goes to Phoenix and she's hanging out in a hotel room with Alice and Jasper, and it's very boring for like a chapter.
Sure.
The only kind of interesting thing that happens is this. Bella is hanging out with Alice and Jasper, and she's basically being all like, oh, you guys, like, why are you guys doing this for me? Like, you can't, I don't want any of you guys to get hurt trying to protect me. It makes no sense for you guys to be here with me. And Alice is like, it's been almost a century that Edward's been alone. Now he's found you. You can't see the changes that we can, we who have been with him for so long. Do you think any of us want to look into his eyes for the next 100 years if he loses you?
He's already such a mopey shit.
Alice is like, if you die, I will kill Edward because I can't fucking deal with him being sad for 100 years.
Yeah.
We'll leave. We will not be around him. I think that's fucking hilarious.
Yeah, no, it's actually, it's pretty fucking great.
That Alice, also, like, here's the thing. I don't know if I wrote it later in the script or not, but, like, Bella has no faith that other people are capable of doing things.
Yeah.
So, like, in this book, she's so scared that all of the Cullens are going to die because of one vampire. There are 7 of them.
Yeah, they'll, like worst case scenario, one of them gets murked.
Even if, like, Rosalie and Esme are like, I'm not fighting Rosalie because she's a bitch and Esme because I don't know what sort of, like, you know, like, combat capability
she would have to have a personality trait.
Yes. But even if, like, the 2 of them sit it out, other of them are gonna take him out. It's gonna be okay.
It'll be fine.
There's only the one of him. Even if it was all 3 of them versus 7 of the Cullens, Edward can read people's minds and Alice can see the future. Like, those are your 2, like, best fighters right there, because you can't beat them in a fight.
Yeah. That's wild.
Well, yeah. Why was it necessary for Bella to leave? Why didn't they just kill him in Forks that night? Sorry, not the point of this, but Bella has no faith in anyone else being capable of anything.
Yeah.
Because honestly, she's pretty incapable. Like, in the next book, she's so concerned that the werewolves are going to die fighting one vampire. She's like, no, don't do it. You'll die. And they're like, this is literally what we're supposed to do.
Yeah. It's fine.
Anyway, this is a theme that will carry through the rest of the book.
She's got like a inflated sense of self-importance.
Yeah.
Yeah,
and
she's like, oh, why are you doing this for me? And they're all like, I mean, we kind of are, but like, not really.
Mostly we're doing this for our brother.
Yeah, it's fine.
So James tricks Bella with a tape of her mom shouting her name so that Bella will come to James. He like gets a tape from like their old home movies of Renee being like, Bella, Bella, and it was just like a tape of when like Bella almost fell off of a pier and her mom was scared for a second. But like he plays that tape through the phone and Bella thinks that he's got her mom, and so she's gonna go to him so that he won't hurt her mom. He doesn't, and she's really dumb. So Bella makes the decision to leave Alice and Jasper, and this makes me angry because Alice can see the future, and the way that it's described is that Alice can see the outcome of decisions. So once someone makes a decision, she can see what happens next.
Yeah.
So Bella has made the decision that she's going to go to James, and Alice would see that.
Yeah, I think I've made the point before where if you have a character who has the ability to see the future, stories don't make sense anymore.
Yeah. Because
drama, by its very definition, is about not knowing what's going to happen. You have to be held in suspense. So if you know what the future is going to be like the only way to have the future, you has to be, weird prophetic dreams that you can't quite figure out, like, what do they mean, and then there's a moment where you go, oh, that's what they mean. That's the only way you can make future sight work as a concept, because if you can just see the future from whatever decisions are made, then
what the fuck is the point?
You're done. Yeah, that's it.
So Bella gets lured right to James. There's a bit where he talks about the last time that he lost a target, which was Alice. He was hunting her through the insane asylum that she was at, and then there was like some other vampire there who was like hanging out and was like friends with her, even though she didn't know that he was a vampire. And so James wanted to take Alice away from that guy, but instead that guy turned her into a vampire and then immediately fucked off. He was like, I don't want to be near you anymore. Goodbye forever. Also,
what a weird coincidence.
I know, right? Also,
does every vampire know each other?
I don't think so, but also
is that racist to ask?
No, I'm gonna say hard no, because this is a fantasy book, and they're not real, and also I don't like Edward. Anyway, this is where I'm going to bring up the fact that there was a series of short films called Twilight Storytellers, which told a bunch of stories from Twilight. And I didn't watch any of them, and I'm probably never going to. But
Were they like animated?
No, they're like live action.
Really?
Yeah. Some of the principal cast came back for them too.
Wow.
Yeah. I think you can stream them on Paramount Plus or something. I probably won't watch them.
Sponsored by Paramount Plus.
So anyway, James is torturing Bella. He's like throwing her around and breaking her arms and ribs and legs.
Ow.
Yeah. And the Cullens show up. And so once Edward gets there, James bites Bella to infect her with venom so that he's the one who turns her into a vampire. And then,
which matters because
it means that Edward isn't the one who gets to.
And that matter.
Because he's still taking.
No. Is this like a virginity thing? Is this
bit.
like a weird? Oh, ew.
Yeah.
Oh, I hate this even more now.
Because he took her away from him. Donovan has crumpled is the best way I can describe it. Sorry, headphone users, for whatever thump that was.
Sorry, I was bashing my skull in with my microphone. Ow.
The book hurts me too.
Wow, there are 4 very vertical lines on the sound readout here.
That's a great sound capture. Right. So the Cullens immediately rip James to shreds and burn him.
Yeah, because that didn't take any... what was his plan?
Also, I forgot to mention that like James is doing this in like the ballet studio that Bella went to take lessons at for a little while. So like afterwards, when they're making a cover story, they're just like, oh yeah, that ballet studio, it burned down mysteriously. Anyway, so the Cullens kill him and rip him to shreds and set him on fire, and Carlisle is busy stabilizing Bella because she's losing a lot of blood, and also she's been bitten by a vampire. And Carlisle is like, I have to stabilize this and like get all of this glass out of here. Edward, suck the venom out of her hand so that she doesn't turn into a vampire. And Edward's like, I don't know that I can do that because I don't know that I can stop drinking her. And Carlisle is like, you have to. And I'm like, does he though? It's not like she's if you were this concerned about the amount of blood that she was losing, I feel like you probably would have done something else first. Like it just to me seems like Carlisle could have taken the venom out, but like the point is that Edward has to be the one who like proves that he's not going to hurt her.
Or I don't know, maybe just let her be a vampire by somebody else and then just try to find a way to deal with it in the next 100 years that you guys are alive, and then skip the next 3 dumbass books.
No, there are 3 more books that we've got to do. Anyway. So Edward finds the strength to suck the venom out and also not eat Bella. Bella blacks out and then wakes up in the hospital. And Edward is there, all concerned. And she's all freaking out because she wants him to, like, never leave her ever again. And they kiss at one point, and, like, because Bella's in the hospital and she's got a bunch of monitors on her, you can see on the monitor that when he kisses her, her heart stops beating for a second.
That's not how that works.
Yep.
I'm not a doctor. I'm not a heartologist. That's not how that works.
So Renee comes in.
I know it's a cardiologist. Don't at me.
Renee comes in and she looks at Edward and goes, he never leaves, does he? Renee knows what the fuck is up. Renee's probably been in some other toxic relationship, so she can probably like smell Edward a mile away. And not because he smells like daffodils or whatever.
Well, I mean, she do love those baseball boys.
She do love those baseball boys. Fuck, I just made that connection. Anyway, so she comes in and sees Bella and is like, hey, are you okay? And she's like, I'm great. And she's like, how's this relationship going with this boy? And she's like, everything's great. I love him so much. And she's like, you're 17, right? Like it might not be forever and you're going to be okay with that, right? And Bella's like, Mom, I love him forever. It'll be fine. And so
honestly, Renee sounds like she's got her shit together.
She's like, it is made very explicitly clear in the books that she's not a very effective like adult.
Yeah.
And I might be confusing Renee with Anna's mom from 50 Shades of Grey. I don't remember if Renee also had a series of failed relationships before she got to Phil. They don't talk about it in this book. I don't remember if they talk about it in other books, but it kind of seems like maybe she was the sort of parent who like dated some guys and like they were maybe not the best of dudes, and then she was like, I can't have you around my daughter, go away. Yeah. And then she met Phil and Phil was fine apparently and plays baseball. Anyway, so Edward and Carlisle
for the Tampa Bay Devil Rays.
Yeah. So Edward and Carlisle came up with the explanation that Bella went to see Edward at the hotel that Edward was staying at, and she tripped and fell down 2 flights of stairs and through a window, and that's why she's so hurt.
And she hit her eye on that doorknob for sure.
Yeah. So like a month or so later, like she goes back to Forks because now she can't leave Forks because that's where Edward is.
That's where they live.
So
yeah.
she somehow goes back home and like smooths thing over with Charlie.
Hey Charlie, it was all a lie.
Yeah. I will say in the next book she's got some like pretty serious like curfew kind of shit going on. So like there were consequences for the bullshit that she pulled. Good. You deserve that. Anyway.
Yeah.
It's like a month or so later. And Edward has tricked Bella into going to prom with him. Bella has made explicitly clear that she does not want to go to prom. And Edward is like, no, you're just going to come over to my house. And then Alice is going to like dress you up all nice and pretty. And you're going to wear this dress. And then we're going to go somewhere. And don't even think about the fact that it's prom night. And Bella, like, they're in the car to prom. And she's like, why the fuck are we going to prom? I don't want to go to prom. I hate prom.
They literally like fucking like when you take a dog to the vet, you don't say vet because the dog knows that.
Yeah, we're going to
word.
the park.
We're gonna go to the PROM, and Bella's just like, oh.
She does at one point, like she describes the process of Alice like putting makeup and curling her hair as it was like guinea pig Barbie or something like that. That's gross. Someone's doing something nice for you. Ew. But they go to prom, and like Bella has thought this whole time that what was going to happen was that she was getting dressed up and Edward was going to bite her and turn her into a vampire.
Oh, yeah, okay.
Despite the fact that Edward has been like, I'm not turning you into a vampire. I want you to have a bunch of human experiences. So the human experience that she does get is her boyfriend stomping all over her boundaries and forcing her to do something she doesn't want to do.
That's, you know what? That's a very human experience.
Very human experience. So she has explicitly stated several times that she does not want to go to prom, and in fact said that at the very start of the book that like she doesn't want to go to any of the dances. She didn't go to the Sadie Hawkins dance. But Edward wants to dress up his little doll and parade her around, so they go to prom.
Gross.
The other Cullens are already there, and I have to read this passage that talks about the clothes that they're wearing because it's fucking ridiculous.
Hannah, did you go to prom?
No, I did not. I was hanging out with my sister and we were watching Pretty in Pink, and that bit at the end where they like see each other from across the hall and they run to each other and they're like, oh, we're gonna be in love forever, and I was like, that doesn't happen. And my little sister was like, why don't you go to prom and find out? And I was like, I can't, it was last night.
I'm very punk rock, and I was at a punk show the night of my prom.
Hell yeah.
Yeah.
So Emmett and Jasper were intimidating and flawless in classic tuxedos. Alice was striking in a black satin dress with geometric cutouts that bared large triangles of her snowy white skin. And Rosalie was, well, Rosalie. She was beyond her belief. Her vivid scarlet dress was backless, tight to her calves where it flared out into a wide, ruffled train with a neckline that plunged to her waist. I pitied every girl in the room, myself included. Admin would not let you wear that to prom.
You could not.
You would get kicked the fuck out. You would be like, no. It doesn't matter how dazzling they are to admin, like how beloved the Cullens are. Admin would not let you wear that to prom.
No.
You're putting a sweater on top of those cutouts for sure.
Yeah. Was she wearing a shirt underneath it? Like,
no, I assume
no. That's the only way I feel like that's possible. You know, it's like maybe, you put something on over that, and then when you go to your prom after party, because people do that sometimes, like, sure, okay.
Yeah.
But, no.
So Edward and Bella dance for a little while. Like, Edward literally picks her up and, like, propels her around the room.
And in the background, forever young, I wanna be forever young. Definitely, 100%.
Don't you wanna leave me?
And then Possum Kingdom by the Toadies.
Yeah. Yeah. So then Edward and Bella like go outside to have another conversation about how much they love each other.
Bella, do they talk about anything else?
No, literally no.
No, they just talk about the movies and books that they like.
That they like, yeah. That Bella likes.
Those
ones. Bella talks about wanting to be a vampire, and Edward says that he won't do that to her, setting up the conflict for the third book, not the second book, the third book.
Yeah, we had to skip a book.
And we're done.
That's the
could talk forever. Like, there's at the very end, there's this bit where he's like, she's like, I love you more than everything in the world put together. Isn't that enough? And he's
Gross.
Like, enough for now. And he like kisses her neck, and that's the end.
This is stupid.
Bleh. I could talk for literally ever about how dumb this book is.
Yeah, can I, Hannah?
Yeah.
You're the person that I love more than anyone else in the world.
Yeah.
If I said shit like that to you,
I would think that you had an aneurysm and we have to go to the hospital,
yeah.
Which is going to be unfortunate because I don't drive. We're going to have to get one of our roommates to drive us.
Yeah.
It's just like, I kind of get it because like they are teenagers. Well, she's a teenager. He's stuck in a teenage body.
He's 104. We've talked about this. He's not a teenager. He is an adult-ass man. Not only an adult-ass man, he is a senior citizen. He is like... Do they ever talk about, like, aging as a vampire? Like, do you emotionally, like, change? Are you stuck?
In fact, no, because here's a thing that comes up in the last book, which, fucking spoiler, whatever.
Yeah.
So there's a thing, there was, like, a fad amongst vampires for a while in, like, the 17 or 1600s or something like that, where vampires were like, I never got a chance to have a child, or like I lost my child after I became a vampire. So they turned human children into vampires. Like they would bite like a 4-year-old, and then they would have like a eternal 4-year-old vampire. And like the children vampires have all of the impulse control of a 4-year-old. So they like would go on these massive like massacres where they would like eat an entire village worth of people. And so the Volturi, who, this is the first time I'm saying that, I'm not going to explain it. It'll come up in the next book. Hold tight, spider monkey. The Volturi like outlawed the practice of turning children into vampires and killed everybody who had made a child vampire. So like admittedly the children weren't around for very long, so it's difficult to tell if like they could have grown up at a normal rate, but every indication that we have from these books means that they would have been 4 years old forever. So it's possible that Edward has all of the emotional maturity of a 17-year-old. It's just he's been 17 for 80 years.
What a hellish existence.
Right? God, that sucks.
Yeah, and as I've said before, why are you repeating high school multiple times? I guess, maybe every 50 years or so you might get bored, but you could not pay me enough money to go back to high school. You could not. You would have to tie me up and beat me to death, like, to even get close to thinking, like, maybe high school is better than this. And I didn't even have that bad of a high school experience, all things considered.
Well, I mean, I kind of suppose that like that's sort of the thing, is that like, you get bored eventually. So like maybe they're not going to high school all of the time, but like every time they want to like try a new degree or whatever, they have to start back at high school, so they've got transcripts.
Okay. You know what? Fair. I didn't think about that. Because yeah, you could just say, hey, we've been homeschooled until now. Yeah. Going to high school to get... Just get your fucking GED.
Yeah.
No,
yeah.
just say...
Just sit the GED test and then go to high school.
Yeah, and then go to college. Yeah, no. Why?
But, okay, so I will say that, like, the melodrama of this, the, like, teenage melodrama, like, it kind of makes sense if you're thinking of specifically, especially Bella as a teenage girl, because she has all of the heightened emotions of a human teenage girl.
Yeah.
And like when you're a teenager, everything is so dramatic and matters so much to you. And so like, I kind of understand why she's acting that way. And if Edward like has had a 80 years of having like 17-year-old raging hormones throughout his body, if hormones work like that in vampire world, then like I kind of understand why he's like that too. But also I hate them.
Yeah, I mean, I guess I can't relate to that because I was a very strange teenager.
I was just depressed.
I was the kind of person, like, I had my very first girlfriend when I was 16. We had the conversation where it was like, oh, you think we'll be together forever? I was like, no, probably not. And she was just like, how could you say that? And I'm like, I'm just being realistic. We're 16. Like, it's probably just not going to happen that way. I wasn't very popular with women in high school. I don't know if that comes across, but like that was just how I was. And when people would say things like, oh, this is really important, I would always just kind of be like, it's not though, like we're fine,
the world will continue to turn.
And I think this is a problem with them, like, well, there's lots of problems with American culture, but one of the problems I do think we have with American culture, at least like popular culture, is we have this obsession with high school. And I remember having this conversation with people when I was in high school where I was just like, no wonder you have like a teen suicide epidemic. No wonder we have like, all these kids like shooting each other and doing drugs and all this kind of stuff. It's like kids are told their entire lives, high school is the best time of your life. You're going to party, you're going to have sex, it's going to be amazing. And then you get there and it sucks.
It's mostly homework.
It's mostly just homework. Yeah. You're not doing anything fun most of the time. You're not partying and drinking and having drugs and stuff like that. You're going to like chess club or whatever,
or hanging out in that one guy's basement whose parents maybe have a couple extra beers in their refrigerator.
Yeah, like that's as crazy as you ever get, aside from maybe like one or two like things that may or may not happen. And so like I knew kids who were 2 semesters away from graduating who were talking about dropping out because they were just like, I can't continue with my life anymore. And it's just like, y'all,
it's not that dramatic, and then we'll be done.
It's really like just finish it and then do whatever else you fucking want.
If you are, for some godforsaken reason, a teenager listening to this podcast,
yeah, please talk to your parents.
Yeah,
keep your grades up.
It'll be fine. It sucks, but you'll be done with it, and then you don't even have to go back. It'll be fine.
I mean, I can't promise that it'll be fine, but unless you like having adults tell you what to do all the time, the rest of your life will be better than school. You will miss the innocence and the like emotional high and the like, the feelings that you might have when you were young and a kid, but don't ever believe that bullshit of just like, oh, being a kid was way better. It's not. It's really not.
You can legitimately have ice cream for breakfast when you're an adult.
You can if you want.
No one can tell you not to.
Yeah, it's fine.
That you're only bounded by your own tummy's ability to digest dairy.
Yeah. No. The only thing that sucks about getting older is that existential terror sets in.
And your body hurts.
But that's just because we're all in a flesh prison. We're all going to die. And being a kid and being an adult doesn't have anything to do with that. You were born against your will. And all that stuff's just going to happen to you no matter what. Anyway, that was fun.
Yeah.
How you doing?
I feel better now that this is off of my head. I can finish New Moon. I'm like halfway through New Moon and I hate it. New Moon is my least favorite of all 4 of the books.
Yeah.
It's the most of a slog.
Yeah.
Slog is really the only word that I can think of.
Slog is a good word for it.
Yeah. Anyway, this has been me ranting about Twilight for, at this point,
Yep.
collectively like 4 hours.
Yeah. As we mentioned in the last episode, this is take 2 of both of the Twilight episodes because my computer decided to eat the first 2. And also it ate about 20 minutes of this one too, so we had to re-record that as well.
Hopefully you didn't notice.
Yeah, where was it? Who knows?
Who knows?
Was it during Twilight Baseball? Might have been.
Might have been Twilight Baseball.
Might have been Vampire Baseball.
Vampire Baseball.
Vampire Baseball. Cheeseburger backpack.
Yeah, that's correct. So my name is Hannah. I've been yelling about Twilight.
I'm Donovan, and I've been yelling like just into the ether about all the things that she tells me.
Please continue to listen to other podcast episodes. We can post more of them.
Yep, absolutely. Bye.
Bye. Thanks for listening. You can find us at mythingyourthing.com or at mythingyourthingpod on social media. Thanks to RK Maroon for letting us use their song Macaroni Art from the EP You Can't Eat Horses. You can get it at rkmaroon.bandcamp.com. If you have a thing you think we should talk about, email us at mythingyourthingpod@gmail.com and maybe that could be our thing.